I'm into building school models for the digital global age. It's a crazy thing to be into. So I'm going to talk about Genius today a little bit. I hope you're okay with that. Thanks to Creative Mornings for letting us talk schools. You know, most of the time, people don't want to talk about schools. You care about schools for your own kid. I get that. Sort of like libraries, too, you know, being here at the public library. You know, we're sort of a forgotten group. But I love that you guys are willing to listen a little bit about schooling. So thanks to Creative Mornings. Thanks to Noah for doing this amazing poster. I want to apologize in advance because you all are going to go hang these things probably in your living rooms, I'm assuming, right? And you'll have dinner parties, and people will be like, amazing poster. Who is Justin Bathon? I don't know. I'm sorry in advance for that. I'll do my best to try to be a little bit memorable. So when you think of Genius, this dude might come to mind, and that's fine. But for today, can we put him out of our minds for a little bit? Can I ask you to think about practical geniuses in your own life? Can you think of a practical genius in your own life? Can I tell you about one, maybe to give you a sense of it? This is my brother. His name is Paul. He is a practical genius when it comes to all things mechanical. He solves mechanical problems that I did not even know were problems. Do you know people like that? They're like, this is broken. I'm like, what? Somebody should have told me. So he solves problems like that on a regular basis, but he's also amazing with community. Every single year in our communities, he takes part in a parade. This is an Instagram photo from that parade, and it's just so representative. The whole point of the parade is to drink beer. Just being honest, that's completely the point. So there's a tremendous amount of, cans that need to be recycled. So Paul takes this task on every year, recycles all the cans, donates the money to charity. Normal thing, like this is what we expect of great humans. But Paul, of course, brings interest and character and culture to it. So he took, this is a gravity wagon. People that grew up on farms would know that. Anyway, this gravity wagon, he pulls through the parade. Everyone throws their cans at the gravity wagon, right? Some miss, makes it a little bit of fun. And whether the cans are empty or not, they all throw the cans into the gravity wagon. Gravity, of course, does its thing. And can you see this down here? Free beer refills. It's genius, genius. Is there a practical genius like this in your own life? Can you put them in your head for a minute? Now, can I ask you a question about them? How did they do in school? How did that person do in school? And maybe I'll ask it in a slightly different way. Was that a good measure of their talent? Probably not. Anyone in love with this measure? No, probably not. Of course not, right? So what if we took on this question? How might we actually try to start to measure genius? Right? What would that feel like? What would that look like? How could you do that? Now, I am going to tell you a lot about a little school here in town that we run. My co-director or co-developer is here, the principal who actually runs it, right? Like, she just lets me tag along. I'll tell you more about it, but we love questions like that. And so we asked this question, what if we spent an hour a week, just an hour, and we just let kids express their genius for an hour a week, right? We'll call it Genius Hour. Now, we didn't invent that, right? Lots of schools. Any of your schools doing Genius Hours? Okay, they will be after today, I bet. Good. So we're going to let this happen. All right, fine. We asked the kids to research something, to create something new, to present it for real, and of course, we're going to measure the results, right? So we just did it. It's just a great way to spend time with kids. Let me show you what happened. So let me introduce you to Aisha real fast. Oh, Aisha is not talking very loud, is she? Trust me, this is Aisha. Audio troubles are continuing, but I just wanted you to see Aisha for a second because with her time, she is an immigrant from Burundi, actually, and she is African and living here in America, and as we are learning, that can be a little bit hard. All right, and Aisha does okay in school, but we had no idea how smart Aisha was until, just leaving her in the background is sort of cool, until we gave her this task. So she's telling the story of how she came to tackle her Genius Hour project. When she was hearing stories, when she moved here when she was young, but her mother would tell her stories of schools in Burundi, and she heard that the kids were taking their books to school in plastic bags. They don't have backpacks. Okay, that's just sort of what's going on. Now, an adult would look at that situation and think about the infrastructure. Like, we don't have enough infrastructure and systems, and I'm going to talk about systems. A kid hears that and says, they don't have backpacks. We could fix that. And so she did. She collected hundreds of backpacks with her Genius Hour project, and as she very quickly learned, shipping hundreds of backpacks to Africa is a task unto itself. So then she started collecting money to buy backpacks in Africa to just distribute them, because you can get backpacks a whole lot cheaper in Africa. So she does this whole thing, delivers hundreds of backpacks to Africa, and all of that just because we gave her an hour of time, right? Because a teacher, this is her teacher, Miss Patrick, had the courage to say, you know what, my time is valuable, and I need to convey a lot of information to these kids, but for an hour a week, why don't we just let the kids pursue their own passions? And now we know so much more about Aisha and what she's capable of. And her genius is starting to come through. And it's amazing to watch this happen. Now, what's happening is this little Twitter thread happened 2 nights ago. A teacher from Henry Clay was like, what's up with this Genius Hour stuff? And then a teacher from Frederick Douglass is like, hey, you should talk to STEAM about that. And then here we are at STEAM. We're like, oh, yeah, we do it a lot. It's amazing. Here's how. Here's the teacher. This whole thing gives me tremendous hope, because it's not an isolated event. This is happening a lot right now in public schools. And that's what I want to tell you a little bit more about today. These quiet revolutions to public education that are currently underway all over the state of Kentucky, right? And so let me just share a few stories. In Eminence, Kentucky, they surprise and delight their kids on a regular basis. Now, how great is that, right? Wouldn't you like to be surprised and delighted on a regular basis? So there's 2 surprises and delights happening in this photo. So the little boy, of course, has to do his schoolwork, but they're going to give him a MacBook to do the schoolwork on. That's a surprise and delight, right? Like, what? We're lucky to do Chromebooks. Then they're like, okay, you got to do this work, but you don't need to sit at your desk. We're going to get a bathtub, fill it full of pillows, fill it up full of pillows, and you can just do your work there. What a surprise and delight. You all are going to go back to your cubicles after this? You're going to be thinking about a bathtub full of pillows. It's amazing, right? This happens a lot at Eminence. Okay, great. In Scott County, north of here, they have really let their kids start to run their professional developments. This is Celeste over here. Celeste is doing a professional development. She was a 5th grader at Lemons Mill, and she was doing a professional development for Georgetown Middle, where she's going this year, right? She's on day 5 of life at Georgetown Middle. But she was telling the teachers, here's what's working for me at Lemons Mill. Here's how these passion projects work, right? That's amazing. It's happening now in real time. Kids are completely underutilized as a resource. They're really, really intelligent people that just don't have a lot of experience, right? But that intelligence shows through. So by the time these kiddos get to high school, you know, they are starting to do amazing things. This group of kids, called the Student Voice Team with the Pritchard Committee, they take ownership not just of their own learning, they're taking ownership of the entire school system. They're conducting research, they're writing reports, they're lobbying, they're testifying at committee hearings in Frankfurt. They're amazing global communicators, by the way. Like, if you're looking to hire someone who is an amazing sort of effective digital marketing people, these guys are great at it. And so this is work that kids are just taking ownership of the entire school system. In Mason County, up by the river, they have done tremendous work to define their graduate profile. What should each kid be doing at each grade level? And what are the ways we're going to measure that? What are the different projects they're going to be doing? We can have much more definition than we currently have. Like, what does a diploma mean? Can you tell me? Danville asked this question about 6 years ago. What does a diploma mean? They concluded that it means you can't come back. Surely it can mean more than that, right? So we have been doing amazing work to try to define those things. One of the ways that you know whether or not a kid is learning is you actually have to let them show you. what they learned, right? The bubble sheets are not very good at getting to deeper learning. This is a better way to get at it. Take a kid, this is a kid in Kenton County, put a blank whiteboard in front of them, give them some whiteboard markers, and then sit across the table from them some actual medical professionals. And then have the kid explain their research project to the medical professionals. At the end of that 5 or 10 minutes, you know what they know, how well, how deeply they've known it, and this kid has now made connections for life, right? This is what we can do. All right, awesome. They're building new schools all over the state. We'd like to do one here in Lexington pretty soon. This is Owensboro's. They repurposed an old warehouse and built a new school, the Owensboro Innovation Academy. Shelby County Schools, each one of the lines up there is a different innovation that they're doing. Shelby County's approach to innovation is we're going to innovate on many different things all at one time, and we're going to see which of those innovations are the strongest, and then we're going to rebuild our schools around that. Amazing work they're doing. Lots of schools are jumping in with new national networks. So Scott, Frankfurt, Paris, Trigg, Boone, Marshall. I've been working super deeply with Paris. Paris is currently on day 3 of implementing an entirely new school model called the Summit Base Camp System. It's amazing. It is an upgrade to public education. And then boards, the public are taking ownership. So this is Jefferson County's board. Jefferson County's board, their school board's #1 priority is deeper learning for kids. And you can see that strategy 1.1.1, like the very first thing we need to do is we need to adopt a broader definition of learning. Creativity, critical thinking, self-regulation, persistence, empathy, responsibility. This is just as important in learning as equations, historical facts, these things, right? This is happening in real time. And we've gotten some notice. So this is a national documentary that starred a Kentucky school district. It's called Beyond Measure, if you want to go check it out. They followed them on this whole journey. Okay, great. You're like, hello, this is Lexington. I don't really care about Trigg County, right? So what's happening here in Lexington? I want to tell you about a special place. Maybe, if Advantage Hosting will let me in just a second. Good, there it is. I want to tell you about this place called STEAM. And some folks from STEAM are in the room and can talk more about it. We launched it 5 years ago, partnership between UK and Fayette County Public Schools. It emerged out of a next-gen leadership academy that a team and I run at the University of Kentucky. And we asked this question: what if we changed the core model of high school for deeper learning? What would that look like? All right, and we're a research and development school, so heck yeah, that's a question we can handle. So here's some things that meant over the last 4 years. An artistic, welcoming culture. We focus a lot on culture. I'm going to come back to that. It's, of course, digital. Like, it's 2017. Why would we not be working on computers in schools, right? Of course it's one-to-one. We need to move that way with all of our schools. We do inquiry learning through projects. We have a huge community focus and social impact, there. We did a month or two ago this great turtle project with Lex Engaged, Living Learning Community at UK, the Living Arts and Sciences Center, and the Public Library, all teamed up to raise awareness for homelessness. You can sort of see, we put turtles all over that area out there, and we put all kinds of facts about homelessness. And that's just like a normal kind of day for us. All right, we of course exhibit our work publicly, because if you don't make your work public, was it any good? We have to make it public. So we make our work public with huge public exhibitions. We measure habits. We grade on habits, those critical skills. If we're going to say that collaboration and creativity are essential to future success, then why would we not grade that? So we grade on habits. And of course, we give kids internships for all kids, all of them. And so this is Aliana hanging out with Dr. Beck here in town and learning what does it mean to be a doctor? What is the daily life like? All right, awesome. So, I'm talking to you now after 4 whole years. We have results. There's data. Are you up for it? I don't know. I tried to apologize in advance. I'm like, I don't think people love data. But anyway, so we are not the top school in the city on overall ACT performance, but we're close. All right, our overall ACT is 21.4. There's a couple of high schools. We took all the high schools' names off, but you can go look them up on school report cards at the the Department of Ed. We are number one, though, for African American performance on ACT. We are also number one on low-income student performance. That's not by chance. I mean, we focused on that. We've brought these deeper learning opportunities across the entire school, right? Like, we're never going to have an equal education system as long as we keep separating kids out. We have to keep them together. All right, great. What about discipline? We don't have much. Very little discipline. In fact, we just don't have those kinds of problems at STEAM. It runs itself. The principal is sitting right there right now. None of us are freaked out because the kids are fine, right? They're totally managing themselves. 27,394 hours of internship that we completed last year across all of our kiddos. It's about 125 hours per kid across the 2016 school year. So what does this mean for college going? Well, this is us against all the other high schools in town and the state averages. You know, we're doing good. It's self-reported, right? We got to watch. How I've always wanted to be judged is if the kids persist, like finish college. If we're truly preparing them well for adulthood and college, then that will show up by finishing college more than getting into college on the front end. So that's how we want to be judged. So 4 years from now, we'll do it again, and we'll talk about how many kids graduated, hopefully. What's happening here? What is happening with all of these schools, right? What's happening is that the schools right now are upgrading. No one knows. You're the first. Congratulations. You know when you get an upgrade on your computer and you're sort of like, should I do it or not? I'm not talking about an update. Updates happen all the time, right? Little thing pops up and they're like, we need to install a little update. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't even care. Just do it at night. Let me be sleeping, right? That's how teachers would like it that way too. Like, I don't even actually want to do this, so that's great. An upgrade, though, is different, isn't it? Upgrades are changing the system at its core level. And that's what's happening right now, right? Teachers are pushing okay on this, and no one knows. And that's the best thing. You know why no one knows? Policymakers have decided they don't actually know how to run schools. That's a scary thought, isn't it? No Child Left Behind. How did that turn out? Yeah, some kids got left behind. What has happened is that we have pushed the responsibility for choices about what should our schools be and how should we make those schools. We pushed it down. The federal government doesn't want to make that choice as much anymore. The state government doesn't want to make that choice as much anymore. So it's falling back to the teachers. And the teachers are like, yeah, that's cool. We got all these things we want to do. And we're going to start doing them. Hope that's okay, right? And then they look back up to Frankfurt and to Washington, and they're like, I'm sure, we don't know. I'm not joking. Like, this is what's happening right now. What does that mean, though? Teachers are professionals. They're taking professional responsibility for the schools. They are saying, we know how best to educate kids. It's what we do. It's what we're passionate about. We've dedicated our whole life to this. We know that kids need to be creative. We know that kids need to be collaborative. We know that, right? So in the absence of you guys testing us to death, we're going to start putting all that stuff back into schools. That's what's happening. And it's happening all over Kentucky. And it's amazing to watch, and it's been great to see it come to fruition. So what would the checklist look like? Here's some things as you're thinking about what does a school upgrade feel like. You've got to have clear graduate profiles. There needs to be equity of opportunity. Student voice and ownership have to be a big part of what's going on. Genius hours, passion projects, 20% time. You've got to make your curriculum, what's going on, transparent. We've got to be transparent about what's happening inside the classroom. Inquiry learning through projects, internships, external learning, performance assessments, exhibitions of learning, personal technology tools, you can see. There's a bunch. We know at this point what it is, how we're going to do the upgrade. We have a good handle on that, and teachers are working together, like on Twitter, to figure out how do I do this in my classroom. All that is happening right now, but can I ask something of you? We're working our butts off to upgrade the systems. Teachers, myself included, we are not artists, it turns out. You guys, though, as creative types, are. The creative folks set the culture. Do you feel that? Us having Creative Mornings once a month, it's a cultural event for Lexington, right? We're helping Lexington define who we are as a people and what the culture of this city is going to be. You all have a really good handle on that. But a school that only upgrades its systems cannot move forward because the culture eats systems for breakfast, right? Peter Drucker. We learned that a long time ago. Good. A school that only improves its culture but stays with all the old systems also cannot move forward. We have to do both at once. You all are amazing at culture, and so I want to just speak briefly about how you can help on the culture side, right? We have sterilized our schools. You want to know how to get more Einsteins? A kid that wears this to school, the Chuck Taylors, rocking these socks, that kid's a genius probably, right? No standardized test is going to tell us that that kid's a genius, but we know as humans, this is an interesting kid. This kid's got talent. How do we bring that talent out and bring that culture in? Well, you're creative. Did you sign up to be creative downstairs? I hope so. I hope you're into being creative. Here's some things to do. Prohibition, you know you love this festival. John and Jessica presented at Creative Mornings a few months ago. We put this mural on the side of STEAM this last year. Right now, there's a call out for Booker T. Washington. They're going to put a mural on the side of Booker T. Washington this year. They're looking for artists. You know, maybe that's you. Okay, what else can we do? Cornette, thanks to Cornette for helping to make all this happen, of course, right? Cornette, they're a little bit good at graphic design. I don't know. Questionable. But they're better than us. So Cornette helped out to think about how do we present our public face and put up new banners on the front of school with their graphic design expertise. Here's, though, what I have to ask of you as you go work with schools. You have to do two things. And the principal of STEAM is right over here, and she'll verify. We want you to take all of your creativity, and that creativity can take many different shapes and forms, music, coding, whatever you are amazing at. And then we want you to take this, the equivalent of it, a gallon of white paint with you. Actually, maybe it's an institution, so it's probably institutional yellow of some kind. At UK, we call it ice cream. Like that makes it better. So take some institutional yellow with you. And then when you put your artwork up, or you do the music, or you help with the coding, it's a public school. Principals, teachers are entrusted to lead that school as members of the public. So you have to be willing to paint the whole thing back over again if it sucks. You okay with that? Good trade-off? Very rarely does that happen, but once in a while at STEAM, we get the gallon of institutional yellow back out, and we paint something over, because it didn't work. And it's okay. Innovation is messy. It takes not working sometimes. Now, if you do this, if you help us on this front, we can do amazing things. This is last week. STEAM Academy, brand new freshmen. These two are brand new to STEAM. Just showed up, first day. We're like, get the paintbrushes. It's the first thing we need to do here, right? And how can you help? Well, look at this. You've seen these things in your life before. You know what that means? We recycle, right? These big blue recycling containers that live everywhere in our spaces, they are great canvases. Why can't we paint them, right? We left the little recycling symbol so people, you know, just in case you didn't know what that thing does, we left that little symbol. Other than that, though, it's a great canvas. So we just started painting on those canvases. So if you don't know what to do with schools, paint the recycling containers. Yeah, start simple, right? If we do that, right, and we do this, we let kids pursue their own genius. We can put time in the schedule for kids to do what they're passionate about, right? If we do that, you know what we're going to get? A whole lot more of this in our society. A whole lot more practical genius will emerge, and if a whole lot more practical genius emerges, we're going to get more of this too, right? That, I think, I hope, is how we as a city, how we as a state might think about the concept of schooling for genius. Thank you.